Buckle up, friends, because this is going to be a long video. Here, I'll be talking about my everyday carry and why I carry what I carry. However, I need to kind of describe what everyday carry means to me and some background information about me that kind of provides details about why I have what I've got on. So for me, everyday carry is literally the stuff that you carry every day. This is stuff I have on me pretty much all day, from when I get up in the morning to when I go to bed in the evening. And I kind of do like a layered system for it, where I have what's directly on my body, things that I'm carrying that are not physically attached to me, and then things that I'm carrying that usually get left behind in a car, or if I'm at a friend's place, it goes inside the house, but it's not like always on my person. So let me give some background about me. I work from home. I'm a writer, a photographer, things like that. Videography is obviously a new thing for me, mostly still photography. However, that kind of gives me some leeway as to what I can wear. I've worked jobs where it was business casual or business formal, and I had to dress around that. However, I'm generally wearing gym clothing or relax wear as part of my current daily goings abouts. I'm also a big weightlifter. I'm not like incredibly strong or massive, but it's something that I have baked into my routine, where generally about 4 to 6 days a week I'm at the gym hitting the weights. Now, again, giving some background, I got into a pretty rough car accident back in September. In that accident, I had 8 slipped vertebrae in my spine. Not the discs, but the vertebrae themselves. And then a 9th thing, I had a bone in my neck that should be curved and got straightened out, which is not, how it should be. As such, I've been going through a recovery process with a little bit of physical therapy, some chiropractic, seeing the doctor, and that has impacted my ability to lift weights, but I've still been trying to hit the gym to get cardio in. However, that means I've been wearing the gym clothing even more, because wearing other clothing has been kind of painful. When I'm not in gym clothing, I'm usually wearing a pair of slacks or cargo slacks with like a cover layer shirt on top of that. Occasionally, and I mean like occasionally, I might have to dress up for a wedding or a formal event where I'm wearing a 2 or 3 piece suit, or business formal. I say all of that because the clothing dictates what kind of gear I can carry on my person, right? A lot of people will tell you that you should just force your stuff to work with whatever you've got. That's how you end up leaving things behind or leaving things at home. If the gear you're carrying is not comfortable, you're going to leave it behind. When it comes to things like guns, pepper spray, knives, if it's not comfortable and it's not concealable, that's like a double-edged bad sword. So we want to try to avoid that. But let's kind of get into it. I have a 3-layer system for what I carry. I have things that are directly on my body, so they're either attached to me, they're in my pockets directly, or they're things I'm wearing. And then I have layer number 2, which is generally like a fanny pack. That's where all of my other stuff would go. And then I have a 3rd layer that is more so a thing that is only carried by me, like physically carried by me when I'm hiking, or it hangs out in my car or in the house, and that is like an everyday carry bag. So for on body, we're going to hop right into what you see in front of you here. I carry around keys. So house keys, car keys, pretty simple stuff there. Everyone carries those. I have a cellular device. Again, we all carry these types of things around. Pretty simple stuff. I am a watch nerd, albeit that as much as I enjoy how watches look, I like them as a thing to wear to tell the time and tell the date. Since that accident back in September, I've really been wearing my battery-powered watches a whole lot more, because it's kind of, not a pain, but having to set my watches every day or every couple of days if not wearing them gets kind of tiresome. These 2 watches are the ones I've worn the most since that accident mid-September, so my Seiko Arnie and then my Omega Planet Ocean mechanical watch, Anti-Digi battery-powered watch. Simple stuff. Obviously watches, people wear smart watches and this and that. I'm a fan of dumb watches because I don't want to get text messages and have tracking on my arm, so just not a big fan of that. I carry pepper spray every day. This is the Palm OC brand. I've personally received training on pepper spray from Chuck Haggard. I love his phrase that pepper spray is the middle ground between a harsh word and a gun. It's something that's generally legal to carry in most places. Obviously, I'm not a lawyer, check your local laws, but I've always got a can of OC spray on me. In fact, this is a can that I stopped carrying because I've traveled so much and had it with me that I just wanted to replace it, so I've got another can. But I just stock this stuff because it's so cheap to have. And if I need to, I flew with this can, so after I finished my return trip home, I just tossed this can out. I say tossed it out. I kept it in the supply for video purposes. If you do choose to carry some OC spray, again, I like the Palm brand, If you buy from Palm, get a couple of these inert compressed water testers so you can actually practice with how the stream pattern is and how it works. The fun thing is you can have your significant other spray you with this stuff. Again, not the hot stuff, but the water, so they can get used to how it works. It's also just kind of like a fun little couples thing. So, at least for me, I don't know if everyone else is into kind of sort of pepper spraying each other. Here we have the stuff that I'm sure a lot of people are like, oh yeah, guns, guns, guns. Obviously, I carry a gun every day, and I think that if you are comfortable in doing so and have some a degree of proficiency, and I'm not saying you have to be a Grandmaster USPSA shooter, but like if you have never touched a gun before, you carrying a gun's probably a bad idea, right? A lot of people think that just having the gun is like a talisman that stops you from having bad things happen. That's not the case. You want to try to get some proficiency in, and again, you don't have to be the most proficient, but you want to be able to be safe and comfortable with the guns. I carry a gun every day; it's an important thing. But obviously, I'm not using the gun every day. I'm not, getting into rolling gunfights on the street. But I do carry a gun every day, and this belt system and these guns here are part of how I do that. So the belt here is a Mastermind Tactics covert belt. This one looks pretty much unused, and that's because it is. This is actually my backup belt. I'm currently wearing my normal one, which is kind of crusty. I decided to buy a spare because the company was moving and they had to close down for a bit, so I'm like, oh, let's get one of these in before they go. For what I'm carrying right now, this is a gun that I've only really shown a little bit on the channel, but I've got an original Generation 1 Smith & Wesson Shield. I'm carrying it in a JM Custom Codex appendix holster. This is a gun I don't carry a ton because I've got other guns, but when I'm filming and I'm showing the guns I carry, I can still have a gun on me and do that here. So Mastermind Covert Belt, the way it works is that it layers above your bottommost layer, but under your other layers. So I'm normally wearing a moisture wicking t-shirt as my base layer and then like underwear. This goes above those, but then underneath of my gym shorts and my cover shirt. So really simple. These are like 35 or 40 bucks. They're US made. There's some systems like the Filster Enigma that can work really well. This just works better for me. I've tried the Enigma. I'm not hating on it, but this works better for me. So that there, pretty simple. And then I have the two guns that I carry the most. Right now, when I'm in gym clothing, I'm carrying a single firearm appendix. When I'm wearing slacks, I am often carrying a second gun, so an appendix gun and then like a pocket gun. But since I've been primarily wearing gym clothing, I've just been carrying one gun, and it's generally been these two guns. So the long and the short is that one of these holds more rounds, it's easier to shoot. The other one holds less rounds, a little bit harder to shoot, but it's a lot easier to carry when I'm doing certain specific movements. So the example I'll give you is that I like to go to the gym and I am carrying when I'm at the gym. It's on my body appendix. I can do a lot of exercising with this gun still on me because it's not that massive of a gun, right? But when it comes to doing certain specific lifts, I found that just having a little bit smaller gun has made it easier. So deadlifting, squats, leg press, any sort of crunches or curls, easier with this, right? And I say curls like ab curls, not like bicep curls. If I know I'm going to be doing a day where I'm standing up and not doing a lot of my more bendy exercises, this gun's fine at the gym. If I'm going to be hitting legs, if I'm going to be doing cardio, this is just easier for me. Like if I'm on a stationary bike for 15 miles, this gun will not be digging into the Frankenbeans nearly as bad as the G48. So when I'm carrying these guns in the gym shorts or any sort of relaxed wear, I am carrying them as you see here. So for the G48, it is the gun itself in a holster with just the magazine on board, 1 round in the gun plus 15 in the magazine, so 16 rounds total. For the J-frame, I carry the J-frame appendix, and then I have a speed strip in the pocket. Load-wise, I'm using 124 grain HSTs and 9mm for the Glock 48. For the 442, the load in the gun is a 148 grain Federal gold metal match wad cutter. And then a reload of Spear Gold Dot 135 grain plus P. The reason why I have different ammos is because with wad cutters, they are a flat nose bullet, generally speaking. This is harder to get into the gun quickly using a speed loader. I like this load in the gun itself as the starting load because it shoots very accurately to the sights and is quite light recoiling, which is an important thing with a revolver because it's very easy to get ammo that is quite hot to shoot. So this is a little loose. I'm going to tighten that up once we're done filming here. The reload is a plus P load, but it's barely on the edge of plus P. It's not super hot. I've got it in one of these Z-Pack, or Zeta Products J-Pack. They're naming for stuff these days is crazy. So Zeta Products J-Pack. And this makes it easier to get 5 rounds consistently in the gun, or can easily get 3 or just the 2 in there. Compared to like a Bianchi 6-round speed strip, this is just easier to get the rounds in the gun. So that's just what's on my person, right? That can generally be very consistent from day to day. So I'm going to move these away and talk about the next layer, which would be a fanny pack or a chest bag. Now, before I do that, I will say that gun-wise, with testing guns for our website, I do change what I'm carrying every so often, but these two are kind of like my baseline, right? I might carry something like the Smith & Wesson Shield, or maybe I've got the Roscoe on, or something else, right? But these are the 2 guns I'm carrying when I'm not trying to actively test something else. And why? It's because I know that they work, happy with the performance, and they're very comfortable in the holster. For the second layer, I have that fanny pack here. And the fanny pack I have is not really a fanny pack as much as a chest bag or a sling bag. Depending on where you live in the country and depending on the clothing you see people wearing, this might be an obvious sign that someone's trying to carry a gun or something. Generally speaking, when I was wearing just a fanny pack at the gym, I would have people asking questions about if I was keeping like protein bars in there, or just my keys in my wallet, or my phone, or headphones. And this is kind of the same thing now. I've not gotten any sort of strange looks. And truth be told, these sling bags are super popular out here in Utah. Between hiking and hipsters, these are super common to see. If you walk into your average Walmart or grocery store, you're going to see half a dozen dudes wearing bags like this. I have an Osprey Daylight. I think it's like 6 or 7 liters. This is one that I bought to test for the website back at the tail end of winter. And I've used it a lot. You can see I've got a tear down here, small cut hole in the bottom, all sorts of nasty funk on here, including some dried blood, which was from me, which we'll get into that. But yeah, this is what I've been mostly carrying. The strap is pretty comfortable. Even with my back injury, it's not been too hard to carry this, so generally speaking, it's still on me. And I was wearing this during the accident. That's where the dried blood comes. I've got that there. There are 2 major pockets on here, plus a couple of internal dividers, so let's kind of just get into it. For the outermost pocket, this is where I tend to keep my spare ammunition. Now, obviously, I'm not carrying 38 Special and 9mm here at the same time, but if I'm carrying the J-frame, I'll keep 2 spare speed strips inside of here just to have more ammo on my person, but not directly on me. I like having that just as kind of like a cheap reassurance and insurance for myself. This is a Fiocchi, not Fiocchi, this is a PPU wad cutter load, but a semi-wad cutter, so it's easy to get it in the gun. And I'm using the Zeta 6 J-clips. I like these, they work pretty well, but they are just kind of bulky in a pocket, but they're totally fine in a bag like this. We'll move those out of here. And then, of course, I'll carry a spare magazine for the Glock in there if I'm carrying the Glock on a given day. And again, I don't think that I'm going to run into a situation where I need 31 rounds of ammunition. However, this doesn't take up a whole lot of real estate in here. It's not very heavy. Why not have it if I can afford the weight, right? Getting into the main compartment, we have a segmented pocket here that's mesh, and then we have the deeper buried pocket here, and then our main compartment. So I'm going to go into the main compartment and then work our way around. I carry a cat tourniquet. I would recommend carrying some degree of medical supplies, with the asterisk or caveat that you got to know how to use this stuff. I've heard plenty of stories of people carrying medical supplies and then something happens and there happens to be an EMT or a nurse or a doctor there that can utilize your supplies for the incident. But it's also just good to have that training yourself. I'm not saying you have to go and do 8 to 12 years to become a doctor, but go take a Stop the Bleed, take some first aid classes from the Red Cross, or even like your local EMS and fire might offer those things. So I'd recommend doing that. Cat tourniquet's pretty basic. This is one of my comfort items, and that is just wireless headphones. With going to the gym a whole lot, being able to listen to my own music and not have to be listening to the crappy music there is nice. These ones aren't noise canceling. I want to be able to still hear things, but also I can just put one earbud in and keep one ear out. I know it sounds paranoid, but trust me, it's just like, I'm weird where I don't like to have both my ears covered up by headphones. It could be partially from the tinnitus I've got that it just amplifies that, but wireless headphones are nice to have. Getting into our mesh pocket here, I've only got 2 items. Since the mesh pocket is pretty small, I don't tend to carry a ton of stuff in there. I have some Carmex. You might be thinking, oh, it's for some sort of survival thing. Nah, it goes on my lips. I get chapped lips pretty easily, especially out here in Utah with how dry it is. Carmex tends to stick pretty good. I really like it. And then I carry a pen with my name on it. This is a Fisher Space pen. If you don't know what that is, I'll drop my review down below, but It's a pen that can write upside down, it can write in water, it can write underwater. I really like it. It's one that I've used these probably since about 2013. My girlfriend got me one that has my name laser engraved onto it, so I like that. And I actually carry specifically a waterproof pen because I carry waterproof paper, so we'll fish that out of here in our little compartment. So a Field Notes Expedition. I like to have a little notepad for taking notes. I even got some stuff going back to trying to shoot specific things, information from classes, stuff like that, right? You know, easy stuff to carry that around. We'll scoot this. Let's go next. We have a wallet. Everyone carries some form of cash and ID or a card and ID. It's just how it is in the modern era, right? Through-pack wallet made from Nidema, so very light. Good company. I'll drop the review down below. Again, sound like I'm the exact same things being said over and over. Swiss Army knife. So I like Leathermans. I think they're fantastic, but they're heavy. To put it into perspective, this J-frame I have here, this is the 7-shot 351C and 22 mag. This weighs as much as my Leatherman Wave does with a holster. So I found that carrying a Leatherman, which is kind of a big, bulky thing to have in the fanny pack or on my person. Leatherman goes in the EDC bag, which I'm not going to rip that bag apart, but I'll link a video down below where I show what's in there. Swiss Army knife allows me to cover pretty much all my bases. I have a small utility knife in here. I've got various screwdrivers and bottle openers and can openers, all sorts of tools I use a lot. I will say that the knife on here, it's dirty right now. It's kind of become a cardboard box cutter and a tape cutter. But when I was in my youth, this dug a lot of splinters out of my hands and my friends' hands when we go camping or just, you know, while at work. So Swiss Army knife, pretty basic thing. A traditional folding pocket knife. This one here is a Spyderco Military that I've had for about a decade now. I think I bought this when I was a freshman in college. And this is an older knife. It's one that doesn't have as many features as the newer Spydercos, but I've always enjoyed how simple the Military is. Again, this is not a weapon for me. This is a utility tool. I tend to keep it pretty sharp because I like to have sharp knives, and I do have some emotional attachment to this knife, which is weird to say, but I used this to cut myself out of my 4Runner back in September. So when the accident happened, I got rolled over. All of the driver's side and passenger side door airbags deployed, and I actually had to crawl out through the passenger side, but I had to cut through the airbags first. So the Spyderco here, it did that job perfectly. It's none worse for the wear. If anything, I was the thing that was worse for the wear, between some cuts in the hands, some scrapes on the arms, and of course my back issues now. But I like to have this. The fact that I used it for an accident has kind of vindicated me, even though I don't normally use the pocket knife for a lot of my daily stuff. The Swiss Army knife handles that. But having that was good. I also have a Microtech that I carry occasionally. That might start getting carried more because it has a glass breaker, which could have come in handy hypothetically at the accident, but the windows were smashed, so I didn't need to use it. The last thing I have in the fanny pack is a handheld flashlight. So I've always carried a handheld flashlight going back to when I was a teenager, and I really just like a good light. You know, as the old adage goes, it's dark half of the day, so having a flashlight probably wouldn't hurt. The specific Surefire that I have here is the EDC L2T. I'll link my written review down below. I like this one because it has 2 modes and high output. So if I press on the back here, there's a low mode, and then if I push harder, we get the high mode. So they call it the gas pedal. I really dig that. I have a Theorem switchback on here. The way it works is I can ice pick like this, and then I can flip it around and use it in conjunction with a handgun. So the way it works is pretty simple, is you just form your grip, and then you push on the foxtail here, and it activates the light. Now, I don't carry a pistol with weapon-mounted light right now. I'm not anti-weapon mounted lights, but obviously for going to the gym or trying to be as concealable as possible, they do add a little bit of bulk. And the big thing is that I've done a lot of shooting with just a handheld light and the gun, and with the Theorem switchback, my performance is, I would say, about 95% is the same if I was using an X300. And this has a lot of utility. If you were carrying a gun, I'd recommend that you carry a flashlight. But if you were carrying a gun with a weapon-mounted light and no handheld flashlight, I just think you're being negligent. I'll drop my editorial about weapon-mounted lights versus handheld lights and the place for both of them. But the long and the short is that I would call this a necessity to be carrying. A weapon-mounted light is a nicety. It's a nice thing to have. But if you're only going to have one, it's got to be this. So I carry one every day. Now, these are all the things that hang out in the fanny pack. And then if I pull back some stuff here that is all part of the everyday carry, you can see it starts to kind of add up to be a fair bit of stuff, right? But when you think, okay, when you're wearing gym clothing, you're carrying like 30% of the stuff on the person, and then the rest goes in the fanny pack, is not so bad. Now, what happens when I'm wearing actual pants, right? Let's say, a pair of slacks or some cargo pants. Well, I'm still carrying the same stuff, right? It's just a matter that instead of it being in a fanny pack, it's now in the pants. So I don't generally wear a fanny pack unless I'm wearing gym clothing. One part because I think it is a more overt way to be like, hey, I've got extra stuff in here. But more so that I wear pants that can carry all of my stuff at the same time. So I'm a weirdo who doesn't like jeans. I haven't worn jeans since George Bush Jr. was in office. So I'm generally wearing khakis or slacks that have small cargo pockets. And as such, the EDC is the same thing. A couple of things will change, but really is that I can add on more gear. So generally speaking, and let me see if I have this here. We'll do a little stand-in here. So I have my 48, and this is the 351C. What changes is I go from carrying one gun to carrying two. So I'll have a gun appendix and then a gun in my front right pocket. I can do this pretty easily with a small gun like a J-frame revolver or a pocket pistol like the LCP Max. And I used to view it as like a backup gun thing, but now it's kind of become like a second primary. I mean, there are plenty of instances where it might be easier for you to just already have your hands in your pockets and then your draw stroke's going to be lightning fast to get the gun out. You could be pumping gas and have a hand on your gun, right? Now, I'm not trying to advocate for grabbing guns in your pockets, because again, we don't want to try to have tells that we're trying to prepare for something, but there are many instances where having a pocket pistol in addition to your appendix gun can be pretty helpful. Or if you live in parts of the country like, I got friends in South Florida where they're wearing very, very light layers, and a pocket gun's one of the only ways they can realistically carry when they're down there in the summertime. So for me, I'm generally carrying two guns if I've got a pair of slacks or khakis on. The holsters I've been using for pocket holsters, I really like these A-holster style ones. I have a couple of different ones. This one's called the Backbone, I believe, and it has a cutout here for the cylinder. I like it for the J-frames that have aluminum cylinders like the rimfire guns. For the guns that have a carbon steel cylinder, you can see the finish is already pretty well gone off the cylinder. This one likes to rust, so I have the exact same holster as this one, but it's just covered up there. When it comes to Kydex or a soft material, it's really dependent on the clothing that you wear. For me, generally wearing lightweight pants like gym shorts, sweatpants, or like khakis, Kydex works better because it tends to grab your seam and your pant material better. A softer holster is generally a thicker piece of material, so if it's like suede or leather or some sort of synthetic like a sticky holster, those tend to do better in heavyweight pants. So if you're wearing something like the Duluth Trading Company fire hose pants or jeans, a soft holster will generally be a better pocket holster for you than Kydex is. But for me, again, even between the gym shorts and then wearing like a lightweight material slack, this just performs better. So generally speaking, I've got these two guns here. Now, sometimes when I'm wearing slacks or other pants that can support more weight for a gun, I might go up in size of gun. So obviously I'm testing a lot of guns from 1911s to full-size revolvers, but like the G48 and the 442 being the baseline that I use for a lot of guns, the Glock 45 is generally my baseline for a full-size carry gun. This one has got a compensator on here. It's got all the bells and whistles. I'll link the video on it down below, but this gun's really easy to shoot, but it is a, whoop, bump the camera. It is a big gun in relation to, let's say, the G48 here, right? And what I gain is 2 more rounds and an easier to shoot gun. However, it is bulkier. It does conceal pretty well because the extra length does make it carry pretty good. But generally speaking, I've found that a pocket snub-nose revolver, a pocket pistol, plus the G48 when I'm wearing pants is more than enough gun for me to be comfortable with. I will carry, let's say, the G45, or I've got a Glock 17 Gen 2 that I've carried in the past. When I'm testing out revolvers and 1911s, I will occasionally carry those, albeit that with a back injury, I'm not really feeling like carrying around a 3 to 4 pound gun. So pretty simple. So I've talked about my EDC in regards to what's on my body, what's in the fanny pack, and then going from gym clothing to my slacks. If I'm ever in dress clothing, I usually just default to a snub-nose revolver and a speed loader, and then a can of pepper spray. It's one thing to say, okay, I can carry in gym clothing where it's loose and baggy, right? It's a different thing where I have to put on a, you know, a 2 or 3 piece suit, right? Where I have a tucked in shirt over top of the gun. So generally speaking, a J-frame or a small gun does well there, because otherwise a lot of people, you know, me included, I say me included, if I can carry a gun, I'm going to have a gun on me, but generally speaking, if you've got a larger gun, it's going to be hard to actually carry that and conceal it beneath a tucked-in shirt. So J-frame, LCP, my Glock 42 does a good job for that, but I'm not in formal clothing very often, which is a luxury that I'm very, very happy to have these days. Now, I'm not going to go into the guts of it, but I will show my everyday carry bag. Last year I reviewed the Gray Ghost gear one that I have, but now I'm actually trying to get a little bit more native in the sense that I've got a Utah company here. So Cotopaxi, this is one of their very, very vibrant bags. It's 26 liters. I don't have it full up to capacity. Whoop. I don't have it full up to capacity, but I have enough space in here that I can carry around a toolkit, a boo-boo kit, a blowout kit, some spare ammunition and magazines or on speed strips, a small raincoat, a little ground cloth, because I use this bag as a day hiking bag, but I wanted to have extra space in there so if I went, I don't know, grocery shopping or went to a thrift store, I can toss whatever I bought in there and not have to worry about using up other bags. You know, we as an outdoorsman, I try to be eco-friendly because I care about maintaining the environment that I've got there. But again, for everyday carry, I've got my 3 layers there, so on body, fanny pack, and then the everyday carry bag that hangs out in the car or in the house or at a friend's house. But generally speaking, it's been pretty consistent. The injury has caused me to kind of realize that the system I had before the accident was working pretty good, and it's just basically allowed me to maintain doing that and then do small additions where I can sub in something or remove something. So yeah, this is a long video. I do apologize for the length, but hey, you don't have to watch it all in one sitting. Hopefully you learned something, whether it was something about what I'm carrying or a thing that you might want to integrate into yours. But what I did for me is a template for me. It's not a template for you. So if you just tried to copy it verbatim, which again, I don't think anyone's going to, but I wouldn't recommend it, just copying it and trying it really wouldn't work very well for you. So thank you for watching. If you made it this far, the special word of the video is Busch Light, the sponsored beer of Dale Earnhardt Sr. Rest in peace, a real one. If you made it this far, comment Busch Light down below. Thanks for watching and take care.